90 minutes later, she called me back over here on top of the edge. I mean, she's literally on the edge. Like, she's like, okay, I'm just going to rip up this phone number so I don't call it anymore.
All right, so when I started the Flip Talk podcast, I made a commitment to show the good, the bad, and the ugly. I was going to keep it real, and I'm bringing that commitment over to the videos we do. This video of a meeting that we had and some of the concerns that my staff had, I think is an important video to share, and hopefully it inspires you to take action, whether you've never done a deal or you're trying to grow your business. You're going to see that even a company that's going to do over 200 projects this year isn't perfect. We don't have to be perfect to take action. We're going to learn some things and we're going to grow and we're going to make some changes. And this meeting's a good example of some of the lessons we've learned, some of the things my staff has dealt with, and how I, as the leader of my staff, kind of keep it all in check and make sure that they're getting the right message and staying on goal. So a lot of important takeaways here, a lot of great lessons, something I'm really happy to be sharing with you, and I'm excited to let the video roll. So, any questions, comments, or concerns about anything right now? Anything at all? Yes? What do you got?
The sellers call us and wondering how come their home's not closing on time. And they sound like they're not trusting us, wondering how come we're going back on the contracts if we agree to this, how come we're going back and, having a reduction, and it just seems like I'm kind of concerned on how that's going to make our company look, because we had two callers call yesterday and they're supposed to already be, escrow is supposed to be done, and it's not. And
what properties? One of the things we found here is sometimes sellers don't always understand the process. One of the confusing aspects of the conversation here in the meeting today is a seller that felt like we should have closed on their property already, and we actually hadn't met our close date. The seller had confused the difference between signing escrow documents and actually closing. So, signing escrow documents, they need to go in, they need to sign the paperwork necessary for escrow to transfer the property to us, and closing being defined as the money has hit escrow and we've recorded and now we own the property. So, as you see, some of the confusion here was the seller's misunderstanding of the process.
Right. Her escrow's not supposed to be done yet. Her concern was she was just kind of, everybody told me not to do it this way, but and I'm like, and you did it anyway, right? And now you're kind of a little worried. I just talked her through it. I got back to her. I got her the answer that she needed. That escrow will have docs done by today. She'll probably sign tomorrow. They can leave any time after that because they're scheduled to get out of here to Roseville on Monday. And her husband's sick. She can't bring him back. So that was her concern.
What was her close date?
She doesn't understand what closed and signing escrow means, the difference between the two. Okay. It wasn't clear to her, so I explained it. I told her closed just means once everything's recorded, but as far as you need to be here for anything, it's just the signing of the escrow docs. After that, you guys are good to go. They'll wire the money to your account as long as you provide them that information at escrow when you sign docs.
And what's the deal with court?
The deal with court is on Friday, I got the assignment signed, and I freaking screwed it up.
Okay, one of our hiring practices when we put this company together, one of the things we learned in hiring when we put this company together was to build a team that was allowed to make mistakes. I've found that in my career, in investing, just about anything else I did, that the mistakes are what taught me more than anything. The failures are what taught me how to be who I am, how to succeed. And so we try to instill that practice in our team. We're not perfect at it. Sometimes we make mistakes at allowing our team to fail, but essentially the idea behind how we grow our team is to take individuals and build them into successful leaders in our organization, build them into people who think and use their brain. In order to do that, we allow them to make mistakes. So it's very crucial for us to have a team that makes judgment call errors and different mistakes throughout their career, and then learn from them through us being good leaders and teachers, right? We teach them, we coach them, we guide them, and allow them to learn and grow from their mistakes so that they can become solid decision makers. And I myself can step away from this organization and just let it run.
I had to redo it yesterday. I got it redone yesterday. And
what was our close date on that?
That one we're late on.
Supposed to be yesterday.
Yeah, I can't find anybody. I couldn't find anybody
Yeah.
for it. I finally found someone.
I'm lucky to get
to
that
take
one.
it.
We're trying to establish a business relationship, and instead of killing the deal, we're trying to find that balance of building a relationship. So, you know, going after 90 properties, that's something normally we would have said no to. One of the things that we struggle with as an organization that's in the business of helping people, is that at times we've taken on deals that we probably shouldn't, that we're not going to make a lot on, just to help the seller out of their situation, or to, you know, maybe allow us to build and cultivate a relationship. What I'm finding and I'm struggling with is maybe that is a mistake, and that's one of the mistakes I think that we ran into in one of the last transactions we did, one of the transactions discussed in this particular meeting, and something we're going to evaluate as a company. We're obviously in this business to make a profit. Most of the deals we do are extremely profitable, but in some cases, you know, we do try to just create a relationship, and a lot of times that has worked out really, really well for us. This particular case doesn't look like that's going to be the situation, and it's something we're going to have to rethink as an organization. Come from that mindset. We're helping them, we're doing them a favor, because there's a few of them that we just couldn't get things done. Now there's a few of them that are totally our fault, like the Shaver Lake property, or the property up in
North Fork.
North Fork. Chong got the comps wrong on those. You know, they're not neighborhoods, areas he typically deals with. One of the things we're going to talk about in our meeting over today is we're going to get second opinions on those a lot earlier in the process, so that we're not at the end of an escrow where we're going, okay, what are we going to do with this property? Okay, those are the issues that you start to run into as you know, think about it. You know, if we're locking up 30 properties a month and we're in multiple markets, there are going to be some things that we haven't dealt with before. Okay, and we're going to have to work through those. And as a team, we're going to work through those. And I need to make sure that your guys' head's in the game, that your attitude's right, and that you look at it from the position of, we are a great company, trying to do good by people. And yes, some things fall through the cracks, but we're going to do everything I can to make it right. McDonald's screws up hamburgers sometimes. So your response, however you want to word it, is we buy a lot of properties. Real estate isn't a perfect game. Sometimes there are title issues, and sometimes there are other issues that don't allow us to close exactly when we expect to close or want to close, but we're doing everything in our power to work through those issues and get your property closed and get you your money. And I promise you the team is working hard to do that. That's how you respond to that.
Okay.
However you want to word that, that's what you're conveying.
Okay,
Okay?
sounds good.
So, any more questions, comments, or concerns?
I just think you can't buy into like a lot of what they say, because in the end, we're going to close, and they're going to be happy with what happens.
Yeah. Getting a check solves all problems.
And some people are, you know, like there's some people that, you know, if you get mad at somebody that they're more. This lady called me. All she wanted was insurance on the property. It took us freaking 3 days to get it done.
Which wasn't our responsibility, by the way.
No, it's not our responsibility. She owns the property, not us. We bought the insurance and put it on, so she would be covered.
All right, well, in some situations, we do some crazy things on properties, like place insurance on a property while we're still in escrow. It made the seller comfortable with the transaction. We knew we were going to close. It didn't cost us but a few bucks to do it, and it allowed everything to go smoothly. So, you know, we look at the situation as a whole. We look at how we can make something a little easier for the seller, and we'll take some calculated risks, some conservative risks. So sometimes we'll put a little money into maybe helping with a legal issue or an insurance policy, if we know that the upside on the property is going to be, you know, well worth it. I'm not a big risk taker. I don't do anything too crazy, but we will do things to help out when we can.
She called me about 6 times a day, and most of the time I didn't answer the phone because I was doing something else, and she would leave me this freaking voicemail just going off on me. And I listened to the voicemail, and then I would call her back as soon as I could, and I call her back, and I bring her back over here from the edge, and I got her back down here where it was safe, and then she was happy, and it was cool, and I love you, thank you, honey. And then she's like on this 90-minute rotation where 90 minutes later, she called me back over here on top of the edge. I mean, she's literally on the edge. Like, she's like, okay, I'm just going to rip up this phone number so I don't call it anymore. Talking about the insurance agent. Because she goes, I keep wanting to call this insurance agent, but I'm just ripping it. I'm ripping it up right now. You hear that? I'm tearing it and throwing it in the trash. That way I won't call her.
You're going to see that in some cases, sellers need to be talked off the ledge. Again, they're in stressful, difficult situations, and they don't always understand the process like we understand it. And we'll have to have multiple conversations with them, bringing them back to sanity or the reality of the situation and being okay with their part in the transaction.
She's like managing herself. She understands herself, but she's like bam, 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 bam. And she's pissed when she calls, and then I call her, and then everything's great, and then it just, So at the end of the day, all she really wanted was insurance coverage on that property, because once I told her it was done, and I emailed her husband a copy of the letter, I haven't heard from her since. So sometimes it's just listen to them, understand that maybe they're yelling or whatever, listen to them yell, talk to them, and you can sometimes bring them right back down.
The sellers, and many times, are in difficult situations. They are under pressure. They don't always understand the process. They will get confused sometimes, and it's our job as problem solvers to guide them through that escrow process, to guide them through the whole process of selling their property, what to expect and how to expect it. One of the things that you'll see through this meeting that we talk about is that I have taken this process basically doubling our business in some ways, more than doubling our business. It's like we're actually going to more than double our business this year. I essentially took a process, put a team together, threw it against the wall to see where the cracks were. I didn't know how we were going to get the end result. I just knew that we could get the end result with the right systems and processes. So part of building a high-level organization is figuring some things out as you go, knowing the road that you are going down, knowing what the end result needs to be, but figuring out a few tweaks here and there. So essentially, like I said, I threw it against the wall. I wanted to see where the cracks were, and I filled the cracks along the way. My team, I let them know that right from the beginning. I was very transparent and honest. I didn't pretend I was knowing more than I knew, or that I had everything figured out. I allowed them to be part of the process of figuring that out with me. So there's a few things. One is, we're essentially doubling our volume. For the year, more than, at this point, at the pace we're going, we're way more than doubling our volume for the year from anything we've ever done. Okay, so there are going to be some communication things that we're working on internally, front of the house, back of the house, whether or not Justin's wholesaling it, whether or not we're rehabbing it. Those are things that we're working on. Okay, we're getting systems and processes in place. When you guys started here, I said, I'm going to turn the heat up, we're going to figure out how to do this, and then we're going to put it all together, right?
Right.
Have I not been true to my word all the way through?
Right.
Okay. So
I want to know what we can do to make this not happen.
there's nothing we can do to make it never happen. Because
Okay.
here's the thing. The more volume we do, there's going to be a couple of things that are going to happen. One is we're going to deal with a lot more sellers that just don't understand, or that think they should be closed when their close date's not even until the 23rd, and so on and so forth. We're just going to have to do damage control. Okay, in our organization right now, our acquisitions managers are in charge of making sure that they hold the seller's hand through the sales process. Once they have that property in contract, they need to stay in contact, continue to build rapport, and answer any questions the seller has along the way. We are working on implementing a system where our transaction coordinator will handle that and be somewhat of a customer liaison. And down the road, as we continue to do a lot of business, we'll probably have somebody that just handles our customer questions and complaints and then assists the transaction coordinator through whatever it is they're doing. We're also going to have to get, and this may be you, Amy, sorry, I don't know yet, but we're also going to have kind of like a customer relations, like calling them and saying, okay, the files with the escrow, this is the process, this is what to expect. These are some of the things that could happen that could delay the process. If you ever have any questions, in fact, Amy, let's start doing that. Since you're doing the transaction coordinating, and then if you get buried with it, we'll take it away. So, this is the process, this is what to expect. I'm the one handling the process, so if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to give me a call, and I'll let you know where we're at, or answer your questions.
These guys set the stage a little bit?
One of the new processes we're implementing in our organization is making sure that the acquisitions managers are explaining the process to the seller, updating them along the way, reaching out to them and making sure that there's no questions or concerns along the way, and just kind of setting the stage on what to expect. Sometimes we take it for granted that people understand, that they understand the expectation, that they understand what the needs are of a transaction, and so, we're trying to instill in our team to make sure that they're not taking anything for granted, and that they are fully explaining and answering questions when necessary, and setting the stage for the expectation. this is the process. We're going to pass this over to Amy to open the escrow. Amy will be reaching out to you, let you know what to kind of expect in the process, and she'll be your contact point for any questions. You can also call me with any questions or concerns. Just know that real estate isn't a perfect game. There could be something that pops up on title that you didn't know about or weren't expecting that could delay the process. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that doesn't happen, but just know that sometimes things aren't always perfect,
And if they do happen, we'll make sure that they're
make sure they're
communicated.
addressed.
Yeah.
Okay? So you guys need to make sure that that's part of your spill once it's in contract. You go with that, Paul?
Yeah, cool.
Okay. So, okay? Anything else? Nope. All right, guys. Thank you.
All right,
Thanks. One of the takeaways I want you to get from this particular meeting is that, the concern was brought up about sellers calling and being upset. I want to make sure that I point out that it was only 2 sellers that actually had called in, and both sellers didn't understand the process. So what we found is, as an owner, as a manager of my company, I failed to communicate a few things to my team about some of the growing pains we go through. I didn't foresee them, because we are literally doubling our business and haven't dealt with some of these things before. So, if you notice, there was some concern. We realized that the 2 properties in question weren't even ready to be closed. There was some confusion about signing docs and closing escrow and closing dates. And we were able to answer those concerns and alleviate those concerns. So, but you have to give your team an opportunity to have that conversation with you and to vent. If you want to have a strong team, they got to feel safe and comfortable talking to you about the things that they're worried about and about what they feel, the direction of the company is going with those concerns. Once we vetted out the situation, had a conversation about it, I was able to address it and remind them about the fact that, we are in somewhat of a learning curve as we are doubling our business. I was able to bring them back down to reality. I guess the same way we do with sellers, right? Sometimes we got to talk them off the ledge. So, but it's important to have a team that understands they can make mistakes and to understand that they can vent and to think and to do different things. And when you have a team like that, you're able to have a conversation and you're able to really kind of dialogue about what the step forward is and what the future is going to look like for the organization. You're going to find a lot of great success coming your way.
Okay, so this whole thing of growing a business, it's not easy. It's not, and you get to see that side of it. I'm going to be showing a lot of really cool wins and a lot of really cool things we're doing in the future, but I'm going to maintain my commitment to showing you the other side of real estate investing, the imperfections. Because I think it's important to understand that my failures, my team's failures, that's what makes us better. That's what makes us the company we are and allows us to accomplish what we accomplish. Being able to get together and have an open forum and a conversation about it and work through those issues, that's what gives us an opportunity to become one of the leaders in our market. So hopefully you got a lot of good lessons from this, a lot of good takeaways. What's really, really important is we're not perfect. You don't have to be perfect to win, and I want you to take action. If you watch this video and you've seen that you don't have to have perfect and you've been waiting for perfect, it's time to get off the fence and do something about it. So I'm gonna hold you accountable and I'm gonna make sure that you're taking action. I'm gonna make sure that I give you videos that get you up and going, and I can't wait to see your wins. Make sure you're subscribing and getting these things as we're releasing. Make sure you're checking out the podcast, Flip Talk Podcast. We also have the Flip Talk Rookie Playbook where I host with Ryan Shalaba. So there's actually 2 podcasts for you. And believe it or not, we have 2 more coming. So keep an eye out for everything we're doing. We're gonna bring amazing content, and make sure you're reaching out to me at don@fliptalk.com and letting me know about your wins, your struggles, and letting me know that you're getting value, because I really do appreciate those emails and that feedback. So can't wait to talk to you again. Have a wonderful day.